Hello and welcome to Apex Instant Tips episode number 200, brought to you most Fridays at 12:05 Eastern Time. We're your hosts. I'm Anton.
It's Marwa.
And many of you may have heard there's been big news in the Apex world recently. I already alluded to it. The big news is, of course, that this is our 200th episode. Mike, I think there's some other things going on as well, maybe not quite as important in the Apex space, but that happened in the last couple of weeks. So we invited you to talk about those sort of other things going on in the space. As our viewers know, both of them, Mike Hichwa is the father of the creator of Apex from back in, Mike, what was it, 2000?
It was first started in 99 and it first went GA in 2004.
Okay, so all the way back then. Mike, thanks so much for joining us on this episode. You were our guest on the 100th episode as well. That tip was about how to add an icon to a pop-up LOV. So is this tip as groundbreaking as that tip?
It's a little different. It's going to be less practical. So it's going to be more, it's just not as practical. So I don't know if I'll be able to live up to the vision that I had then, but we'll give it a try.
Okay. Well, we're going to let you jump right in. Marwa, please jump in with any comments. And other folks, if you have comments along the way, feel free to ask them to Mike. We'll try to keep an eye on the comments and feed them to Mike as we see them. So it's off to you, Mike.
Hello, Francis. Okay, so today's Apex Instant Tip. So it's going to be 4 words, but it's going to take me some time to kind of work up to it and set the stage. And so I'm going to start. When I first envisioned Apex, it was in reaction to Oracle Forms. I loved Oracle Forms, but I realized that the world was going to the web browser, so I wanted to have an entire experience to build an application inside of a web browser. And so the idea was that you would use a universal client called a web browser versus doing client server, and you would be nothing to install. You just come to this web browser and you could design an application, deploy an application, and people could use the application. And the developers and the end users, all they had to have was a web browser. Everything would be great. And of course, when I built that application, when you build the application, it would be easy, just like Forms was easy. It would have a stateless architecture as opposed to stated, like Oracle Forms would have a SQLnet connection. And so the only reason it had to have a stateless architecture is I asked Tom Kite, how does the web work? And he told me it has a stateless architecture. I asked him to describe what stateless meant, and that means you got no persistent connection. And I was like, ooh, that's an issue. And so we had to work around that and build an application server, and we had to do that. So I did it out of necessity. But so we had to build session state management, things like that. So I knew it had to be data centric. I worked for Oracle, and I believed that most people wanted in the enterprise space to have access to their enterprise data. As I told Larry Ellison, that if you could see the data in your database, that people would actually find the value of the Oracle database greater. If they see and can cut, touch, and feel and query their database, would be greater.
Which was the original, or one of the original names, HTML-DB.
Yes, that was Larry's name. So it was put your data in HTML so you can see it. Yes, and it was released as HTML-DB. And at the time as well, like our apps group was into these flows things. So I was chatting with Ron Wall, who ran our apps division at the time, and so he was all about these flows. Like you start here and you go here, and so you basically, when people would interact with computers in their job, they would want to do something, want to accomplish a task, and the task was kind of a flow. And so if you noticed internally, maybe a lot of the APIs, they were all WFlow, and that was sort of the internal name there. But the idea there was that since everything was stateless, that Apex would remember things. And what's interesting of this whole session state management is it's very similar to what AI is now, right? Like where everyone talks about their conversations with AI, and they wish that they would remember or have a memory bank or remember what they're doing. And so it's very, very similar. And so what we envisioned back then was that Apex would automatically maintain the session state. So as you go through your application or step to step. It remembers what you typed in the fields and it could be used. And so anyways, we'd have these validations and processes, flexible security, everything conditional. It'd be extensible. So the extensible point was, I knew that a platform, the idea was to do standard components like charts, forms, reports. But sometimes your application wants to do something special, and we didn't want to put you in a box. And so I felt as a forms developer, I couldn't do something special. I was kind of limited. I could do, a data grid, and I could do some things, but I really couldn't do some things that I might want to express in my application creatively, and I was blocked. And so I wanted to make sure that people were never blocked, and they could always express what they wanted, even if they had to do it procedurally and extend it. So it might not be low code or no code, but you would not be prevented from doing it. So those were the original founding design principles.
And Mike, I want to interrupt and say it didn't make your list, but one of the things that I've always been so struck by and impressed by is that Apex is built with Apex. All of the visual components are built with the tool itself. And
yep.
And that has, to me, been a huge selling factor because, I know that the developers are using the tool, right, in order to develop the tool, right? And so things that we need as developers are being used by the Apex team all the time. But B, just that so much of it became metadata driven because of that, I think, and that metadata is a huge driving aspect of Apex. So.
Well, that's a great transition into my next slide, so in this slide we talked about like the designing principles, but not the implementation. And so some older people might remember before HTMLDB and what's now Apex, there was something called WebDB. And what WebDB was, it was a generator, so it would generate PL SQL. This was an era in Apex in Oracle in the 1990s where we had something called Designer Generator. And Designer Generator would generate forms, but it would also generate PL SQL web applications. And so I thought that was the way to go, and I started doing that. But then in 1999, I had this realization that it was absolutely silly to generate every application from scratch, and every application would have a reporting application. Every application would have a charting system. It just made no sense. You should just use a shared infrastructure. So we came up with an idea to have a model-driven execution engine. That's the formal academic name. But basically what it says is that all the aspects of your application are captured in metadata, in an Oracle database, in a table, in rows and columns. You decide that my application is called foo, that I have page 1 is called home, and that there's a region called dashboard, and that there's a chart called sales by country. So that the idea is that you just enter in capture and metadata everything that needs to be itemized by the application, and an application engine in real time, when you request it, you're saying, I want to see application 100 and page 1, it would go read the metadata, say, what is application 100? What is page 1? And then it would say, oh, it's a dashboard with a chart. I've got it. And it would go run the SQL statement from data in an Oracle database in a row and a column. There's a SQL statement, it would execute that SQL statement, and then return you with the result. And what it turns out is that in building applications, a lot of the time is spent networking, navigating making a network call, getting a response, making another network call. And since the Apex engine is included within the Oracle database, there is no network. So the network is eliminated. So when you want to ask SQL statements or questions or conditional SQL statements, you can run 20, 30, 40 SQL statements or more in less than a millisecond. And that allows you to eliminate network traffic. To make a network traffic call, it has a specific overhead. We can make probably 100 SQL statements in the same time it would call you to make one mid-tier to database tier. So by encapsulating the Apex engine or the application engine as metadata and rendering it in real time from the database makes your application just data. You just add data to the database and it's just data. So apex.oracle.com has over hundreds of thousands of applications, one database, hundreds of thousands of applications, millions of pages. And so the model scales very well, and everybody is running the same code. You upgrade one thing, you've upgraded everything. So the founding principle of the Apex engine and of the Apex application server and of our low-code framework is this model-driven. So it's all about the model. If the model is good, your application's good. If Oracle does not do a good job with the model, then you could have criticism, like maybe our workflow doesn't have everything. We're working very hard to bridge gaps, but we're basically enhancing our model in different places. I think we have very good models for interactive reports, for faceted search, and many other things. Okay, so what does the model look like? So if it's all about the model defines my application. What does that model look like? And so here's my page I want to create. And so this is the end user. This is what the Apex engine renders to the user. So all good there. But what is actually in the back end, or what does the metadata look like? So if I was to export the metadata for that page, and lines 5,857 through 5,861, they are my SQL query, and it looks like this. And so we've got large globally unique identifiers, foreign key references. We've got unintelligible parameter names, a bunch of WB flow references, which has really no context. We have no safe way to edit it. If you try to edit this, we won't support you. It's not documented, and there's limited validation. If you want to corrupt the Apex dictionary, all you have to do is change some of these numbers, and it will be all corrupted, and you might break stuff. And so it's basically what we have today, and it's very similar to what everyone has. It's just an export-import format. You're not supposed to look at it. You're not supposed to know about. It's not important what it is. It's just a way to get something out of one system and into another system. It's an interchange format. And so on May 14th, just not a few days ago, we released Apex 26.1, and we've adjusted our export-import format. And we made a big change to the export-import format. We changed it to not be more readable, sure. We changed it to actually be an open application specification language. So as opposed to making it a data dump, we decided to export it as a language, with a full grammar and everything about it. And so we decided to go all in on making our export-import as elegant as we could. And so here's what it looks like: the same page, the same application, and there are no global identifiers, just the hierarchy, the way where it fits. Page 5 on top is indented underneath the region, the sales over time region, and so it doesn't need to have a parent because the indentation within the language tells it where it is. All the parameter names are documented. If you hover over them, you can read about them. They're easily understood. If you make an error or you type the wrong thing, it will turn red and it'll be wrong. It tells you your error. It's supported and safe to edit. If you want to edit this in an editor by yourself, you're more than welcome to. And if it doesn't work, you can call up Oracle support, and we're obligated to fix it. It's fully parsed. And so if you make a change that you reference something you're not supposed to, that doesn't exist or no longer exists, it will return an error. So it provides that parsed-based validation. So it's strongly typed, if you will. So in my opinion, it's a metadata Zen garden. It's very well organized. It's very clean. It's very tidy. Everything is great. And so if we compare the before and after, we have a data dump, which is the raw foreign keys, primary keys, the execution engine's column names, just kind of the raw stuff. And then on the right, you have the view optimized for the for a developer, for a human. It's in a much more readable format. It's the same information. The information on the right is just they're both imported, and they both result in exactly the same data and exactly the same tables. They just do it one elegantly and one less elegantly. So if you compare the two, you have a data dump, that's the graphic on the left, and you have a Zen garden, which is the elegant metadata that's in a language and not in a data dump format. And so it's much more elegant.
And Mike, you mentioned that you can edit this and re-import it, those kinds of things. Is it okay? Can you create an application from scratch this way, or should you always start it?
I'm getting there. You have to wait for slide 15, and I'll get there. But ask another question about the.
Okay, so we've got a couple of these that are similar things. That's an answer. So we've got questions and answers coming in the comments.
Okay.
Good.
So they're all kind of setting the stage, right? And so so why do I care what my export import format looks like, or whether I can edit it? Like, I don't want to edit it anyway. That's why I use a low code system. I drag and drop, I point and click, I go through wizards. Like, I just don't care. And you're right not to care, and no one cared. I didn't care until AI changed the world. And now we want to leverage, us as developers want to leverage AI agents to help us build out our applications. And if the AI agent is going to specify my application, if my AI agent is going to help me fix my application, if it's going to translate my application to French, if it's going to change labels on my buttons, whatever it's going to do, that I should be able to work with my favorite AI agent, and I should be able to ask it to do something. And so what can I ask my AI agent to do? And if it's Apex, anything, because everything you can do in Apex is exported and imported via APEXLang. So if the AI agent can edit the APEXLang, which it can, then anything Apex can do, you can ask an AI agent to do. Now, the AI agent might not have the proper skills, or your question or your request of your AI agent, your command might not be clear enough, so it might not work, but it is capable of doing it. And so now our job in the community, as well as here at Oracle, is to give the AI agents. So we're working to train the AI models like ChatGPT. We're working to improve all the skills to make it so you can do everything. You can always do a lot of things today, but in the future you'll be able to do much more. So why do you care about the export import format? You care because you want to delegate certain application development responsibilities to your agent. So,
and Mike, as you mentioned to me earlier, this is a different approach than some folks are taking. It's not that you've exposed a bunch of APIs that an agent can invoke an API to do something. You've exposed the entire application as a language of intent, which is like we were discussing, a different approach to this.
That's right. And so we think it's unique. I haven't seen anything. Maybe someone else will copy us, copy what we're doing. And so if you look at domain-specific languages, so APEXLang is a domain-specific language. That's the academic term. But there's another popular domain-specific language called SQL, right? And so the analogy to SQL is remarkably similar. So you say select star from emp, right? That's the SQL statement, or create table. Those SQL statements actually just are in a language format, right? There's a SQL parser, the SQL error messages and things. So SQL gets parsed, create tables. You say create table employees. It goes and it inserts rows into tables inside the Oracle database. They're tab $, and call $, and they're just rows and tables, and they got ugly table names and ugly foreign keys, just like Apex has, like just a table. And so you have a domain-specific language called SQL that inserts rows into tables that constitutes an Oracle database that have been working since 1979. So that was the model by which I modeled everything after, as I built Apex just as Oracle built the database. And then it just took me a much longer time. I didn't have Cod and Date write me an application specification language that I could copy. We had to create it ourselves. A lot of people contributed to making this language what it is today. A lot of really solid work there. So anyway, that's That's the genesis of the language. But the vision here is that you should be able to, as a human, go in and look and edit just the way you do now through an IDE, and you can change labels, you can add pages, you can do everything, and we're going to continue to enhance that. We like this approach, but we also feel that people are going to want to generate applications, or they're going to want to make changes to their applications conversationally, and we want to let you do that in an open way. And the most open, transparent way we can do it is to allow anyone to do everything and have it all out there in the public. And so by open application specification language, the open means that the grammar is open, that we're giving it to everybody. We're not hiding it. There's nothing proprietary. There's nothing you need from Oracle to generate APEXLang, right? If you ask a LLM to generate a SQL statement, you don't need the Oracle database. You just need to know what an Oracle SQL is, and the LLMs know that. To generate APEXLang, you don't need an Oracle database or anything from Oracle. You just need to know the grammar of the language, which of course we publish.
Right, and theoretically, somebody could write a converter from APEXLang to anything else, right?
And it's out there. Like you can convert Oracle SQL DDL to create tables to Postgres or to anything else, and you know, we might even do it too, right? Like so if you want your Apex application to run on your iOS or Android device, and it might not make sense to run an Oracle database. I've been working with the database team, and they're talking about making a smaller, tighter version maybe, but I don't know, like it seems overkill to put an entire Oracle database with the SMON and the PMON and the flash cache and everything on your iPhone. It just seems a little big. But you know, maybe we should, you know, build something that's a little different with SQLite. You know, maybe that's the right engine. So we can leverage the same thing. And so it's just building an alternative engine. But the specification, what, you know, the description of what type of chart you want is common, right? So the specifications there. It's just the implementation that is different.
Excellent.
Okay, so now the real question. Why should I use Apex when I can generate an app with an AI agent? You can just go generate any application you want willy-nilly and it will work. Like you could just say, you know, build me an application that tracks this, and it'll generate a React application or a TypeScript application, whatever application can be done. And so, yeah, you can do that. And so, but a better question is, can I get better results generating an Apex app, because it can generate an Apex app too, than I can generating direct implementation? So I believe that's the real question. There's a subtlety to this, and that in today's world, we're like May 22nd, 2026, you will get better results generating direct React because all the LLMs are trained on it. But once the LLMs become trained on APEXLang, then they'll be able to generate seamlessly and with greater proficiency everything that Apex can do. So if your solution set is within Apex's sweet spot, it's within its capabilities, then you will be able to generate anything Apex can do super fast and super efficiently. But it does take a little bit of bootstrapping as the AI systems train, and they've only had a few days to do that, and so it's going to take a little bit of time for us to get there. But we're working very hard to get the skills and to work with the LMs to get them trained up on Apex. Okay,
game of leapfrog. Yes.
Yep. And so, so if you want to answer the question, like, assuming it's equally efficient to generate an Apex app as it is to do direct generation of a React app, or .NET or whatever. I don't want to pick on any particular framework. These are all very, very good and very robust frameworks with a tremendous amount of computer science behind them. But what do we recommend the Oracle community and what people use? We think that we want to look after our customers' best interests, and it's rooted in what do you want to own? Like, what do you want to be responsible for? And so that gets me to today's tip, which I said was 4 words.
You only have 5 minutes to give the tip, so let's see if we can do the tip in 5 minutes.
Tip in 5 minutes, okay. 4 words. Generate what you own what you generate. So there's only 4 words.
That's it. We're done. That met the 5-minute mark.
So, and what this means, I'm going to translate the words, is that no one, if you ask application developers, like no one wants to generate an operating system and redo the way they do Linux does CPU management or flash cache or network access or memory management inside the operating system. Most people don't want to generate databases. They don't want to redo the 40 some odd years of concurrency control and atomic transactions and data integrity. So there's a lot of value in the platform. So all these platforms provide tremendous value. So what the world's best companies use, virtually every single every single bank uses an operating system. They use a database, and then some applications are built directly in the core functionality, and some leverage an abstraction tier. So an operating system is abstraction on hardware. A database is an abstraction on top of data and files. An application server, an application platform, is an abstraction on application capabilities. And so by using an application platform like Apex, you are abstracting the need. So as opposed to generating and asking your LLM to generate every detail of your forms, all your session state management, all your security, all your map and spatial capabilities, authentication, authorization, and do the entire stack. The idea, the tip is to say, just generate what your company needs. Generate the unique attribute that's unique to your organization. Don't take the risk of generating a bunch of stuff that's AI slop. If you generate less, if you can generate the minimum, you can then understand it better. You can better maintain it, and you can if something goes wrong, you can have a better chance of fixing it. And so trusted platforms provide this governance. And so I feel proud that Apex is a trusted application platform. It's used by intelligence communities worldwide, military worldwide. It's used in governments. It's used in banks. Banking is our top community. And so what my tip is that in the era of AI, embrace it. Don't embrace it blindly, but understand clearly what you want to own. Do you want to own the implementation of session state for a low-code application? For an application platform, or do you want to own your business logic? I think you want to own your business logic. You don't want to understand how do you draw slices of pie charts. And so, do you want to own the slice drawing, or do you not want to own it? And so, that's my tip of the day: generate what you own and own what you generate.
Excellent. So, Mike, we do have a couple of questions that came in along the way. And one of them is, are there plans to improve the design time environment? So outside of APEXLang, in the builder itself.
Yes, we want to make everything easy, and I will tip my hand of my vision here. And so I don't know how many people on this call go to the Cheesecake Factory. It's a restaurant,
yeah,
but they give you this visual menu, and
it's got 400 items on it.
But you don't have to read anything. There's nothing needs required translation. You look at it, and there it is. And let's say you like hamburgers. You can have your with cheese or without cheese, with Swiss cheese or with provolone. You could have it with pickles or without pickles. Okay, so imagine that in the world of web applications, that there were design patterns, common best use patterns. But today's patterns are today's patterns. Tomorrow's patterns evolve. And so my vision is that when you build applications, as opposed to specifying the details, even though it's abstracted, which slot's going to be in, how many spans do I have, which template would you like to use? You don't really want to do that. What you want to say is, I want a faceted search, but there's different types of faceted search. Sometimes on the facets, they're like on the top, and then you click on the thing called filters, and a filter thing pops up, and you do your facets. Sometimes, like Amazon style, the facets are on the left, and some people like their facets on the right. So in your Cheesecake Factory menu of everything possible that you might want to eat, you say, oh, I'd like to have a search. Oh, what type of search? Oh, I'll take a faceted search. Okay, great. Which pattern of faceted search would you like? And so what we want to do is to innovate in a way that makes it easier for the developer and easier for AI to generate something, because what you're capturing, because Apex exists to put UI on top of data. But what does a UI look like? Well, it falls into, let's say, 400 primary patterns. So we want to document those patterns. And then when we implement that pattern, maybe there's some JavaScript involved. Maybe the pattern's like a Kanban board. And so as the pattern evolves, the implementation detail could change. And so the idea is that they'd be versioned. And if you want to update to the next version of the pattern, you wouldn't have to do anything. You would just upgrade to the pattern. And so the idea is to make application easier by making UI pattern based. And I think that anyone that's used the internet for anything real, like banking or shopping or analysis or whatever, they see these patterns. Of course, a modern pattern is a chat assistant where you ask questions and natural language comes on the other side. And so there's probably 5 of those patterns, and we want to provide all of them out of the box. And so that's how I see the evolution of user interface that is pro-human, and that humans can select the patterns, and also pro-AI, and that AI doesn't have to have the burden of getting all the detail right, and they can just take the pattern, and then when someone improves that pattern, that everyone's uplifted and everyone's running the same code.
And I think this really falls into what you were saying. When you say generate what you own what you generate, you don't necessarily want to own those patterns. Those patterns, they come and go throughout the.
You might want to own 2 of the 400 or 3 because you have a vision that no one else has, or you have a uniqueness. But I don't like. Do you really want to own the faceted search? Or we've got 8 faceted search patterns. Do you have a 9th that is absolutely critical? You might, but chances are you don't. Right?
Right. And to your point, what you as a business, what makes you unique is what makes you successful. And so you need to concentrate on those things. And this gives you the way to concentrate on those things that are unique to your business. And if there's nothing unique to your business, well, maybe you have nothing really.
You need to make your business run better, right? If you can do better, better faceted searches or better chat dialogues or better forms or better select lists, well, why don't you go in the software business and open a software company, right? But if you're better at if you're a bank, at making loans that don't fail, or if you're a government at providing services to the community, if you're a hospital at making sure that your patients have the best care, that's what your thing is. It's not necessarily building the select list or deciding which slot that particular region needs to go into. And so that's. The idea is it's to leverage the world's best practice, the world together. All these innovative companies, Apple and Google and Microsoft, many others, they all kind of synergistically iterating the patterns of human computer interactions. And the best of the best, we want to surface as patterns in Oracle and allow our customers to build their own if somehow we miss something.
Excellent. Well, we have one other question that I see that I see a couple that have been answered and a couple that haven't, but there's one about where can developers find the APEXLang specification itself? We'll
send a follow-up, but there are skills that define APEXLang. So there's github.com/oracle/apex/skills. Underneath there's some Apex skills. And then there are other places where we document other aspects of the language. Not everything has been released. We're going to be releasing it a little piecemeal. We felt like we didn't want to wait until we had every last piece of documentation done. We have a lot of documentation, but there's a lot more coming. And so, but right now we do have skills, and we expect our skills to be updated on an almost weekly cadence to get better and better and better to help us and on this. And so, if you're doing generative development with Apex today, it's the worst day ever. It will only get better. It's going to get better every single day as the LLMs get better, as our skills get better. But what's important is that we have the right architecture, the right abstraction, and the right the language-based ability to do it. But it's spectacular today. But the future is even brighter.
Well, Mike, I can't let you go without asking this essentially the same question that you've heard for the last 18 months, and that is, when is Apex 26.2 coming out?
Much less time frame than the last release took, and the last release took a long time because the industry is going through its largest upheaval ever, in my opinion, and I felt that Apex had to be positioned for this, otherwise it would be dead, and that APEXLang has done that, and so now we're back into iterating, back onto regular cadence, and Oracle has some conference in some desert someplace out west, and I'm hoping that it will definitely be done before that conference. Excellent.
And any, of course, there's all the safe harbor. You can whatever you want, but any thoughts on what that might include? The big things that are going to be.
The big things are improving and hardening the ability to perform both generative development as well as it'll be a hardening. No major earth-shattering releases. The earth-shattering ability is to be able to spec to code, vibe code / conversationally develop, in addition to the traditional IDE-based development, and be able to use those best practices, source code control, diff merge, work in professional environments, scanning tools. So there'll be a boatload of features. There'll be a long list of features, but they'll be kind of supporting. They won't be, a game changer type things. So things that you want to run a security scan against your APEXLang files or all those types of things. So a lot of iterations on those areas.
Excellent. Well, I think that covers it. This is perhaps our longest Apex Incident Tips episode ever.
It's a good tip, though. Even if you don't use Apex, it's a good tip, right? If you're just generating anything, you should generate what you own, and you should own what you generate. Like you should,
It's absolutely solid tip, and the tip was 5 minutes. It was probably 15 seconds. So I think we met the goal of the tip happening in that time period. Mike, thanks so much. Congratulations to your son on his graduation. And
thank you.
And if anybody else has additional questions, put them in the comments later in the show. And we've got a direct line to Mike. We'll make sure we get them answered. Mike, thanks so much again. And for our vast audience, thank you for joining today, and do all the things that you're supposed to do. Subscribe, send your mom a letter about the show. She'll love it. So, all right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.